Well, hello everyone. My name is Wendy.
And I'm Sharon.
And we want to welcome you to our podcast. It's called
God-Given Life.
They probably figured that out, huh? We got a smart group. We got a smart group of people out there listening. We sure do appreciate everyone. If you would take a moment to subscribe to our channel and give us a like, that actually enables us to go out, have a bit more of an impact in the world that we're trying to reach. We sure do appreciate that, don't we, Miss Sharon?
We do, and we enjoy your comments.
Oh, yes.
So please be sure and subscribe and do the comments as well.
Absolutely. And I think people get confused about, okay, how do we comment on this stuff? I can't get it on my phone. In order to comment on the video, I think you have to have a YouTube account. And to have a YouTube account, you have to have Gmail. So I just want to clarify that for everybody. If you can't figure out why you can't comment or even like the video, it's because you don't have that YouTube account and the Gmail. So it just kind of works like that. Life used to be so much more simple.
It is, and I barely stepped into this world, and I finally figured out all I have to do is put my phone up to my YouTube thing and scan it, and it downloads my Gmail thing, and I get it. And now I've got my YouTube on my phone where I can...
Really?
It takes up my Gmail account, and I can comment to my heart's content.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that, so now you know.
It's easier for this old lady, I can tell you that.
It's a lot easier just to get my kids to do it for me. My daughter sets up a lot of things for me. She even sets up my my voicemail on my phone. So, yeah, that's very nice. Techie people.
It is, because I listen to the podcasts on the TV sometimes. And so it just made it so much nicer that I can just go, boop, and there I am.
Right.
I'm all in.
Right. I think from the analytics that I'm watching, most people are listening on their phones, which is nice if you're in your car or whatever, that type of thing. But I do enjoy the TV because it can get a little louder, and I can hear it better because these old ears appreciate the volume goes much higher on the TV. Well, Miss Sharon, here we are in letter 7.
What a letter it is.
It is. I had to read this one several times to ascertain what he was saying.
He's a deep thinker. And there's so many things in here, though, that were worth going over several times that I found that it was just amazing.
I found that, too. I wanted to do a quick synopsis so that people know we are reading the letter. We may hit on one particular subject, and you and I could talk for hours on one particular subject. Yes. Yeah, girl power. But... it doesn't mean that we haven't read the entire letter. It just means we're hyper-focused on one thing, good or bad. So,
That's true.
So, anyway, in letter 7, we have that big question right off the bat. What is it?
That is whether they should be showing themselves to humans. Should the demons be allowing their presence to be known?
Right. And I think you and I are probably going to hit on that because that was a big point in the letter for me.
Yes.
And then later in the letter, Screwtape comes back to whether they should guide the patient towards extreme pacifism or extreme patriotism, which Screwtape leans more towards that extreme pacifism. Seems to maybe go better with the fellow's personality and his involvement within the church, us being, peace-loving folk and all as Christians. And then whichever they do decide, they need to make sure that he becomes involved in this faction, like these fractious groups within the church, and stamp the name of Christianity on it. But the main thrust of his religion is going to be the pacifism or the patriotism, whatever they decide. So the goal is that either one of these ideologies becomes the idol in his life and gets his focus off of God. So now my true passion is, we got to win this war. We got to defeat the enemy, as opposed to, I got to pick up my cross today and follow Jesus.
And that's the key, is we have to follow Jesus, because it's exactly what he wants, to take our eyes off Jesus and to be on this extreme, whether it's pacifism or being an extreme patriot.
Right. And we can take things, well, there's a lot of things in life that we can take to the extreme.
Oh, yeah.
So, but let's go ahead. Before we get into the crux of all of this, you said that you were doing some research on Wormwood's name.
You know, I have a wonderful Bible teacher named Miss Wendy.
Oh, yeah, I know her. She's awesome.
She is really awesome. And she's always pointed out how important a name is. And the more you research it, the more it really is true. Like, don't just skip over the names. If they're there, it's for a reason. And so I was looking at Wormwood, and Wormwood is actually mentioned several times in Jeremiah 9:15 and in Lamentations 3:15 through 19, and it's also in Revelation. But wormwood is a bitter plant symbolizing bitterness, extreme bitterness, sorrow and calamity, and judgment. Judgment by God, like in Revelation when the star wormwood comes and makes all the water bitter.
Bitter, right.
And I even slammed my fist to emphasize that for all you guys.
It sounded like that. She wasn't hitting nobody, though.
So I just found that it is like, C.S. Lewis has put so much thought into this, and there's so much deep meaning in all these things that we don't want to just gloss them over. It's really important.
Well, it's one of those books that it's not the Bible, but you could read it many times and glean biblical, doctrine and Christian life out of it. And so there's a lot to learn. I love all of his books, and they do take me several times to read. Some of them I still can't get through because my brain just kind of explodes. But yeah, I think that's a really neat aspect in this, that the words, specifically of the names, are very interesting and meant to be kind of vile.
Yes, to hit a chord in you, to, elicit an emotion from you, and I love that.
Yes. So what do you want to hit on first? What was a main idea that you pulled from this that you'd like to dive into?
Well, it's like what you said. I think that them not showing themselves, like he says in the book or the letter, that in the old days they could pretty much show themselves or possess people, and people understood, yes, they are being possessed by demons.
Right.
And nowadays it seems like we've got the people in red tights. And how many times have we seen those silly things on trucks where it's the sexy woman demon and then the sexy angel on one side or the other? They've turned them into
like
comic
the shoulder
figures.
Angels?
Yes.
Like shoulder angels, yeah.
Yeah, and the absolute comic figures. Or even there was a comic book a long time ago with the little devil.
I don't remember that. That's
but he was a
before
little
my
tiny,
day.
little red, like supposed to look like a little fat cherubim, but as
with
a
the
demon.
horns
Yes.
and everything, right? But he's adorable.
So I think they've done a good job. Now I think the focus has been, especially with if you look at any cable listing of the shows that are on, they are focusing on aliens or spirits or ghosts and...
Yeah, I think for years there's been this push to remove any kind of spirit life from people. We had a lot of, atheism was on the rise. And so what it wanted to do was completely erase any type of spirit life from people's minds. And that hasn't worked. It's actually become, I think it's become a lot more popular to think of spiritual things. People are not satisfied with thinking that there's nothing out there, because we've seen with our own eyes something's going on in the world, and people are searching. So now, what does Satan do? And he's fighting on a lot of different fronts, isn't he? So you have atheism, where there's nothing, but that hasn't really panned out really well. So now it goes to agnosticism.
Yes.
So I'm willing to admit there's something out there, but I don't know what it is. Let's talk about, I want to go back for a moment and ask you a question, because the whole point of revealing themselves to people is so that they can terrorize. Right?
Yes.
I mean, that's what he says in this, is
Absolutely.
that, we want to be able to reveal we just want to be able to run free and possess people and not play a game with it. It's just, we're possessing you, we're taking over, and it terrorizes not just the person that's being possessed, but the society in general to have to see. And it harkens me back to the days of Jesus. How many demons were they casting out? In biblical times, the demonic realm was going, they were just blatantly taking
and everybody
over.
Knew and believed it.
Right.
They understood that's what it was. I mean, look at the poor guy that's running around in the tombs.
Right.
But his story's so wonderful at the end, because he goes and evangelizes to his town.
He's going to go back. But there were so many opportunities to cast out demons, and that's never argued. Today, though, I do find that some of your more liberal scholars will say that no, those were not demons, because demons aren't real. So your people in psychiatry and stuff, and we'll say it's not demons, it's actually epilepsy.
Epilepsy.
Right. So there was something else going on. It was not, or drugs or whatever it was, but it was not actual demons.
And I think that's just an easy way for us to put our faith in science then.
Right.
And pharmakia, like, okay, well,
Exactly.
there'll be a pill that can fix this.
Right.
And it's a spiritual problem.
Yes. Yeah. But there are just too many. There are too many accounts. We've got Mary Magdalene. We've got the fella, like you said, the one that had a legion of demons. And what did we say? That's like 6,000? Is that 6,000 demons?
I believe
so. How in the world? And then, of course, the story that came to my mind, and I'm kind of in this, just go with me on this, the 7 sons of Siva who got beat up.
Yes.
So I don't know if people were, I wouldn't say making a living off of, but really trying to make a name for themselves.
Yeah.
In being, casting out demons, exorcists.
Oh, you got to remind people about that story, because it was funny. We know who Peter is.
We know who Paul is. We know who Jesus is. But who are you? So you can read about that in Acts 19.
It's wonderful.
It's
worth reading.
It's a good story. So the people of Israel were dealing with being terrorized with demonic forces, and God allowed them to be. I guess my question would be, how far does society have to go before it gets to the point where your people are openly demon possessed? Like, what's going on within society that the demonic says, we can have free reign now? Because we're kind of on the cusp of that here. I think we see a lot of demonic activity here in America. And that's my point, is what's been happening that's opened that door for the demonic to say, hey, we're here, we're loud, we're proud. Deal with us.
I think some of this has to do with, unfortunately, the rise in drug abuse.
Yeah.
I really believe you open a gateway that way for that kind of possession. Mm-hmm. But then it's an easy way for society to go, oh, they're that's what's wrong with them.
Right.
They've permanently damaged themselves because of their drug abuse
Right.
or whatever. And it's like, no, this is beyond.
Yes.
This is far beyond this. You can't do the kind of things they're doing physically. And
Right. When you empty yourself and you tell your soul to and really it is, when you tell your soul to go to sleep, which is what you're doing, your mind and your soul are no longer possessing this body, then you open the door for something else to come in. And I think that you're right. It's huge. It's got to be idolatry as well.
I think so as well, yes.
When you remove God from the equation and you bring in the idolatry and these different ideologies, again, something's always willing to step in and take over, and you think you're in control, you're not in control. So I think that's a huge one.
Oh, worshiping
the attack on God.
The whole nature thing over the Creator. The whole personifying Mother Nature, or going back to the Old Norse and Celtic gods and
Right.
all of these different things. People are playing with fire here.
We're going to talk about that a little bit more with this life force, because that's really what struck me in this letter was when he mentioned life force. And I said, that sounds really familiar. So there was something that he was dealing with, C.S. Lewis was dealing with during his time, this idea of life force. What was that coming from? And how much that's taken over today. But Screwtape also says that if they reveal themselves, then they're going to lose the ability to manipulate mankind. They won't be able to make skeptics. And again, you had, atheism, materialism, which is the fact that only matter exists. So if you can't see it, it's not there, which is really kind of silly because we could look at science and say, well, you can't see atoms, but they're there. So
Yes.
you can't see gravity, but it's there. So it's a false argument. But basically all of that is to say, well, if we can get them to admit that there's no God, we can hang back and not reveal ourselves as the demonic, because it's worth it. They'll go to hell not believing in God, but not believing in us as well. So it's all good.
Yep.
It's a win-win.
Goal accomplished.
Yeah. So the low key pays off too.
It does, because it's a whole faith in science. I believe in science. That is my religion.
And I think that's crumbling. I do. But I wanted to ask you, what era do you think or you believe that we're living in? Are we living in the demonic is ready to start running around and revealing who they are? Or are we living in this low-key, we're not going to reveal ourselves?
Either we've got some demons that have gone completely rogue and are going against what the devil has told them, or he's told them, go ahead and start making yourselves known. Simply because I'm not saying every one of these ghost shows or alien sightings or whatever is real. However, when you have what looks like photographic evidence or whatever kind of little machines they make that measure this or that, it's like you got people believing.
Oh, you're talking so the machines that are measuring what?
Like in the ghosted hunters and everything, they have these like voice things, or they can set up monitors where they're getting these shadowy figures, energy,
yes,
light
they're seeing
orbs,
energy, right?
All kinds of things. So either they've gone rogue against what he's saying, or
Which
they're
doesn't
saying
seem
it.
plausible, because as Jesus says, so the demonic is not stupid.
No.
I think they're just hitting on all different fronts. So you're going to hit them on the flank, and is the flank the side or the back? You hit them from the rear.
I think the flank's on the
flank
side.
is on the side, right? And then you hit them from front. So they're playing the long game. And so if this doesn't work, this might work. So they've always got something in the works. I don't see Satan as someone who takes a vacation. He just seems very driven to me to destroy. And so, but Jesus said a house divided against itself cannot stand. And so it wouldn't make sense if Jesus were casting out demons in the name of Beelzebub, right? And that's an understanding that the demonic are not going to work against each other.
No.
But they will provide a lot of options. And we have seen that. I think we're living in both eras where we may see one thing dying out. People have been moving towards atheism because it's one, we've trained our kids to be atheists. We've sent them into the schools where they have openly admitted to teaching our children that evolution is a fact instead of a theory. And it's become the religion of many, many young children who grew up to be adults. But in the last 5 years, we've seen so much evil unleashed that people are now willing to admit that there's something out there. So we talk about this agnostic thinking. So
it takes a lot of faith, as Frank Turek said, to be an atheist.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That is a rough go.
Mm-hmm. It is a religion.
It is.
You have to believe in nothing.
And that's just, I just can't.
And chance. And, no, I'd rather, I need to believe in something that feels ordered.
Yes.
And God is very much order. He's not chaos. And to me, evolution is just chaos.
It is, and it
changes.
I was so in on the evolution thing for so long and never even taught that there is another theory and all the science that goes behind that. It's not that the Bible isn't the solid word, of course it is,
right.
But there's so much science, there's so much geology, there's so much evidence to back it up that it's sad. It's not treated as here's the theory of this and here's the theory of this. Mm-hmm. At least do that much. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Don't present it as this is the way it is.
Right. Yeah, we lost that battle a long time ago.
We did.
So are there forms? Are there forms of belief in Satan, but they're under a false name? Because that's hit on within this chapter, that we'll have them believe like in evolution, mm-hmm. and underneath that, it's satanic. It's actually Satan behind it. So if you looked at idolatry and you go all the way back into Israel, Old Testament, the Israel worshiping Baal.
Yes.
There was demonic behind that. So we understand it's Baal worship, but Satan is the voice behind it. So do we have beliefs here in America that are called one thing, but they're under a false name because it's actually satanic behind it?
My first thing that comes to mind is like Wicca or
that was mine too.
Mm-hmm. It's like they think it's so innocent or loving, or I don't know what it is, but mm-hmm. It seems like people don't think of it as dangerous.
Right.
They think that they can play with something like that, or tarot cards, getting your future read, right. All of these crazy right. things. It's like...
Yeah. And they think they're in control. They're not. It's not. There is definitely... I don't know if I call it the life force. What C.S. Lewis talks about, this life force, that there's this idea that within the universe there's an energy in all things, and we need to tap into that energy. It's like Hinduism, Buddhism, New Age, paganism, and witchcraft is in on that. We got to seek out this life force, and we end up worshiping the creation, this life force, instead of the creator. So I think that's been very successful, and that's where you're talking about with the Wicca and stuff, and the paganism, that I want to worship the life force in the trees or in the stars or in the stardust, and and within the universe itself, to be one with the universe, that makes me feel very godlike. So then if I can be in touch with this godlike life force, and the life force is in me, then I am then therefore technically God.
Just another little G God.
Yep. So, and this might be outside of the box, but I wanted to bring up this belief in Satan, but it's under a false name. And I call it, it's very simple. You ready?
Yes.
Yes. It's called self.
Oh, yes. Ooh.
This might be outside of the box, but worship of self is very satanic. In Christianity, what do? We deny ourselves, we pick up our cross, and we follow Jesus, and we seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. That's the Christian way of thinking. The satanic way of thinking is you do what makes you happy.
Yes.
And if other people are judging what makes you happy and they show any concern or a different way, then you double down, triple down on what makes you happy, even if it's destructive. So
that's very true.
I was actually doing a bit of research. Satan worships no one except himself, correct? Like, that's what he does. Peter Gilmore, who is the high priest of the Church of Satan, wrote this on the website. I found this. We Satanists value ourselves primarily. Hence, our perspective is one which places ourselves at the center of our myriad subjective universes, and we feel free to cultivate our own personas and identities, taking from what inspires us, as well as applying some inventiveness towards our ongoing self-celebration. We are our own gods. We create who we are. And mankind is well into self. And if you're into self, you are taking out of the satanic playbook. And I think most people would argue that and say, no, wait, that's so rude, Wendy. Don't tell us we're satanic. But Scripture tells us we are either children of light or we are children of
darkness.
So if we are into self, that is, I'm sorry, satanic thought. And Billy Crone has an excellent video on that. So I would, actually, it's a series on Satanism. So I want to encourage everybody to listen to that. But those examples of self, we see that within society just ramping up. And it used to be a cute thing when we would see written on our children's clothing, like we would go into Walmart and buy a shirt for our kid, and our little baby, and that little baby shirt would say, "It's all about me."
Yes.
And we have been teaching children since they were babies that it's all about them. And we have raised a society of children in the last generation or two to only think of themselves. I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong on this. Is that why we're seeing so many splits in families? Is that why people can say, you have a different opinion than me, I'm canceling you. You have a different, not just a different opinion, but I don't like your language. You won't call me by the correct pronouns that I choose or how I see myself. You're not seeing me the way I see myself, so you don't even deserve to live.
We see that for sure today.
Yeah.
And my rights exceed your rights, no matter what it is. Or you're not making me happy anymore. There was was it philosophy or I think it was that Johari's window. I'm thinking of the pyramid where the top of the pyramid is self-actualization. And you're climbing this pyramid, and at the bottom of the pyramid is you're meeting your physical needs, just strictly your physical needs.
Right.
And then it goes up, and at the very top of this, that we all are trying to aspire to, this was a college class, is self-actualization. Like, you have become what you are meant to be, and very few of us actually attain that. But it's like that, if that's your whole goal in life, it's like...
It's so the opposite what Jesus taught.
Exactly.
That the person at the very top of the pyramid is God. And if we're not reaching for him, then it's a wasted life. But again, we've been fooled, haven't we? As a society, we've been fooled to think that it's that whole self-actualization. I don't know why that's a funny word to me, because I don't, who knows you better than you, and what a horrible person you are.
Yeah.
Like I don't want you to know what I'm thinking. I don't want you to know what's in the deep recesses of my heart. And I'm not sure I want to go there either. That's why it's lovely to know that that's God's job and he brings things out. Can you imagine if he just kind of splayed our entire, all of our issues out at one time and said, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and then show you exactly who you are. And we do have that when we come to Christ.
Yes.
We do understand, I think, a lot of our sin, that we're prideful or that we've rejected him or, hey, I've done these things and I've broken God's law. So we understand we break God's law and we come to him humbly and we repent and we turn to him. But then this process of sanctification where he goes deeper into the recesses of our mind and our hearts, and he starts to not only remove things, but show us how we still come against him with these thought processes, with my anger or my impatience or, whatever it is.
Or pride. Pride is rough.
It is, because you can sit down and start to think, and it's prideful, but I think I'm pretty humble at this point. I mean, yes. I don't think there's a whole lot more you could strip from me, God. And then you realize, oh my goodness, he just went into a new room in my heart. He discovered that place I did. He went into the attic.
Yes.
And he found all of these boxes of things that...
I can remember as a new Christian, it was like there were all these things that I did, and I am not going to do those things anymore. Well, I'm not doing a lot of those things anymore, but the sin behind that will still rear its ugly head.
Yes.
And it's not manifesting itself as a specific act that I've done in the past, but it's still like, hey, I'm still in here.
Hey, girl. Remember me?
Yeah. And if you let it go, if you don't listen when you're being convicted of that, it can run rampant.
Yeah.
It can really cause issues again. So it's like, thank you, God, that you will show us.
He's keeping the post. And we talked about that last week, in that you might have this issue and you're looking at the object.
Yes.
Of what's in front of you going, that's so bad for me. I don't want that. That's a horrible thing, but you're not looking at what's in the heart that's going, why am I appealing to that? Why is, there's a sin there. So, yes, I think self is satanic. So I do believe that there are, with the things that we've already spoken about, this belief in Satan under a different name. If we look at page 40, at least that's what we're on, in our book, Screwtape says that there are 3 things that may be useful in ushering in a positive belief in Satan, because that's what it ultimately wants. The demonic wants us to turn to Satan as king and Lord, right? Fully embrace him. So one is the life force. What's the next one?
The worship of sex.
And then, of course, the last is the aspects of psychoanalysis. And I wanted to, kind of break those apart and see, the life force 20 years ago, like I said, we were talking about atheism. It was in vogue to be an atheist. Now it's more in vogue to be agnostic. The agnostic is willing to open up his mind to a God, and I think there are so many things in place today with all of the different religions, which you were talking about, Hinduism and Buddhism and witchcraft and paganism, and all of that is there and ready. And the whole idea of it is to replace God. So you never have to think about your sin, your separation from Him. You can be a really good person by seeking after the life force that is within us and the life force that is out in the universe. And I thought that that was very interesting, that hasn't changed, and it's actually become more and more popular, because I can remember back in the 70s and we would watch movies and you'd have the kooky hippie woman, come out in the movies and on TV, and they always kind of made fun of her as being really loopy, and she was seeking that life force, that being one with the earth and stuff. And I remember watching that as a kid and going, what a weirdo.
That was like that Shirley MacLaine thing. I can't even remember that, but she was really out there.
Yeah, she's been... What, is she into reincarnation? And
I believe so, but it was just very different.
Right. Yeah, and we all thought, she kooky. But now, she's not as kooky as a lot of these folks out here. It's become so popularized. So it did its job. The other thing that he talks about is the worship of sex. So we've got that life force thing going on. The worship of sex... that Satan can use to bring himself into the game. This is what Peter Gilmore said. Again, he's the one of the folks in the Church of Satan. Talked about Anton LaVey, who was the founder of the Church of Satan. And here's what he said. When crafting a religion that he felt would be a healthy antidote to the repressive theisms he experienced around him, the idea that self-satisfaction, particularly sexual fulfillment, so long as it was between consenting adults, was a primary course in the foundational stones of Satanism. So we have, again, where it's openly stated that within Satanism, worship of sex is a must. It has to be a foundational stone. So again, the complete opposite of what Christianity and what God wants for us is understanding that sex is a precious thing, a precious gift that He gives between two people who are man and woman, who are married, to procreate and show their love to become one. And yet, within Satanism, you are to do whatever makes you feel good. And that means sexually. So what was taboo back in the day is now openly embraced, because he was really into anything you want to do. So whether it's LGBTQ, tack on anything to that. And we've seen video of people who have come out of Satanism, or children who were rescued from these satanic cults, who come out of it talking about the intense abuse that they suffer sexually within the satanic cult, any satanic church, satanic cult, and all over the world, where they impregnate these young girls who are 9 to 13. They have the baby and then sacrifice the baby. And then that girl keeps getting used and cycled. They're just used for their own sexual pleasure. So this is not just, I want to be able to have the freedom to sleep with whomever I want. It's a lie. Because it says as long as it's between consenting adults. That's not how they actually operate. It sounds good on paper.
It does. It's a soundbite.
But it's not what they do.
And even with our sexual revolution that we saw in the 60s and the 70s, how liberating really was that for everybody?
Oh, my goodness.
What about the rise in all of these different diseases that just became crazy?
Yes.
Like, oh, that's a lot of freedom for you.
You know, when you're talking about that, when you're talking about abortion, when you're talking about what it did to their psyche.
That's the most important thing. The scars there will
Yes.
never be gone.
That's right. And we're not even talking about, like, there's the abortion issue, but just the psyche of having so many partners
Yes.
and living a life of irresponsibility will come back to bite you. You and I know that.
Oh, yes.
And so you and I are still carrying scars. God has healed us, but the scar is still there.
It is.
And so if we can talk to our younger sisters out there and say, please, you know, I know it's so, what's the word I'm looking for? It sounds so goody two-shoes to say abstinence works. But if you can go into a marriage understanding that you don't have all of this baggage of bitterness and anger and
shame,
hatred, that is a great gift not only to give yourself but to give your spouse.
It is.
And so give yourself that. Don't have sex before marriage. But Satanism will say, you know what? That crazy Wendy, she's trying to hold back from you. She's trying to dictate your life.
It's that forbidden fruit all over again.
Yes, taste and see, it's good. Okay. Anyway,
that is a big one.
The other one in psychoanalysis, and I had to look that word up because I wanted to know what was different between psychoanalysis, which is something that Lewis talked about. We don't really have much of that today. We've morphed. So psychoanalysis was looking into your unconscious thoughts and picking apart your dreams to figure out why you're so unhappy, you know, and we're just gonna go into the unconscious. And like I said, it's not as popular, but today we do have something that has replaced it, and it's called psychotherapy.
Yes.
So, and in that, we're just going to talk and talk and talk and pick apart your life until we figure out why you're anxious or you have trauma or whatever it is. And I don't make fun of it because I do understand we have an epidemic of people who are hardly able to function because of their anxiety. But we know who you can go to, and he won't charge you anything.
Well, and it seems like people are seeking something. They know that something's not right in their life. They know there's something missing. And I don't want to say that thing, you know, the God-shaped hole in your heart or whatever it is, but there is something that my spiritual journey toward Christ started on that everything. I eliminated everything until I finally got down on my knees and was at my breaking point, because I had literally tried everything, including psychotherapy, psychiatric drugs. It wasn't working. It was like I knew I was at the end.
Right.
And so my hopeful heart wants to believe that we've got so many people that are desperately unhappy.
But I think you have to, I think within that, you have to go to the right source.
Yes.
If you're, and I'm not saying that counseling is bad, but when we're trying to, again, focus on self, instead of getting rid of the victim mentality and just focus on me, we have to go to God.
Yes.
We have to understand that God wants to help me and walk with me through this process of healing, but I have to understand who I am.
Yes. That's the key.
Yes. And so who am I before him and who is he? And what have I done to get to this place? And how do I obey him from here on out so that I can receive this healing? And I know that sounds blunt, but you're talking to someone who had such a victim mentality in my 20s, in my early 20s, and probably through my teenage years and into my early 20s, that everything was everybody else's fault. And it wasn't that I wasn't justified in feeling pain. I definitely was justified in that. But the way I handled it was to make everything about me. So every person I came into contact, it was about me, and you don't get me, and you don't know where I've been and what I've been through. And it's just, this is why I am the way I am in this relationship, because I've been hurt before, you know? And so we end up throwing our junk, I just say emotionally throwing up over
Yes.
everybody. And becoming such a sourpuss in the process and feeling like you need to get it. And if you don't get it, you're out. What good does that do? Coming to God and having him show me my own personal sin was the best, healthiest counseling session I ever had. And from there, he began to show me how he could restore me. And then he, in the process, restored me, and he showed me forgiveness. He showed me forgiveness, and then showed me how to forgive others. Let go of that bitterness. Let go of the anger. Let go of that hate. And that was it. Psychotherapy is not going to do it for you. The medications are not. I'm not saying all medications are bad, but getting a person to where they don't feel anything, that's not solving the problem. These people are on medications for years and years, and they don't feel anything. That's so unhealthy. Hit it head on.
That's like with anxiety and stuff. It's like you have to face that. Because there's really nothing that's going to take it away until you start facing what are your fears that you're so...
You do. And God can help with that. He will give you the strength to stay in the room, deal with things, or work that job, or be in a relationship, or be around people, you know, and he'll help with that.
That's why Screwtape and Wormwood are so busy, the demonic are so busy trying to divert us from him. Mm-hmm. Keep him dependent on something else.
Yes.
This is the way. This is the way.
Yeah.
Don't go to... Now, he calls him the enemy, but we know him as our Lord and Savior. He wants to keep us away from God.
Yeah. Yeah.
And keep our attention away from him.
Right.
And what better way to do it? Because you're not...
That's the key. That's the whole purpose of all of it. And all three of these that he talks about within this, the life force, the psychoanalysis, the worship of sex, it's all self. So we are primed for satanic control. As the world, as a society, in different places, we're primed for it. So I don't even...
We have that sin nature.
It hasn't gotten better since Lewis wrote this.
No.
It's actually, we're more primed now than we've ever been. What are your last thoughts about? We'll take a few more minutes, Miss Sharon.
I was just really hit. went back through some Bible verses that were, because I was going extreme. Not quite the Jesus wrapped in the American flag, kind of put that flag out on my lawn or anything like that, but I was admittedly really struggling. Again, the Charlie Kirk thing, I hate to bring that up again, but and so I was going back over, and I was just, the verses that came out for me that I really hit me was that in Colossians, where it says, conduct yourselves with wisdom toward outsiders, making the best use of time. Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person.
Oh, that's
and
good.
That is like, I have got to remember that. And if I present myself on this crazy extreme, who's going to listen to me?
Right.
And the way things are now, I don't know how many people have unfriended me because of the stuff I was posting on Facebook.
Well, and yeah, we've seen a lot of that. But I was just reading an article. Rob Schneider was talking about Robert De Niro, and he saw him at a function, and Robert De Niro was asking him, how could you support that schmuck, is what he said, talking about Trump. And Rob Schneider, not falling into that, said, you know what? I love you. And De Niro, we all know De Niro's gone on his rants and stuff, and the only thing he could answer with was, oh, okay, and he stopped. And so I think there does have to be a point when we are lacing our words with that sweet honey, and it's in a good way.
Yes.
It's not, we're not trying to schmooze people. We're just answering in love. And if we're not answering in love, we're part of the issue.
We are.
We're not going to make things better. I love this verse because you brought out wisdom in that, and that was the same thing that I went with. James 1:5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. And certainly we need wisdom, godly wisdom at this point. If we are claiming to be believers, then we have to go to that source every single day and ask him for discernment and wisdom and how to walk as we're picking up that cross. And Proverbs 2:3-6 says, yes, if you cry out for discernment and lift up your voice for understanding, if you seek her as silver and search for her as for hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God, for the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. And so, yes, like every day when I'm praying, I am asking God for my family, for my church, and particularly for myself. Give us wisdom, God, that comes from your throne, because the muddy waters, it's filled with all kinds of advice. We need to be able to go through that. And then, of course, my last one, Matthew 6:33. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness.
I love that one. Can I give you one more?
Yes, ma'am.
And it was Ephesians 4:3, and it's Paul talking. It's 1-3, actually. Therefore, I, the prisoner of the Lord, urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling with which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love. Now, I know he's talking about the believers, but we also need to walk with patience as we go out into the world.
Absolutely.
Because we're not going to be able to
Absolutely.
talk to people if we don't.
We need to be showing that fruit. And if we're not showing the fruit, people can't tell a difference.
No. You got to wonder.
You've got to, yeah. So, well, we want to encourage everybody. Look up these verses for yourself. It'd be fun this week to just look up those verses on wisdom and discernment and how to walk, even that fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah, go to your concordance. Look up the words, wisdom, and you will find so many different wonderful verses.
It's true. I wish my concordance was a little bit had bigger font. Why is it so small? I need that. So I have to put my grandma glasses on. But we want to encourage everybody out there, seek God. You're a pilgrim on this earth. We've got a better place to go, but we do have to live here. So seek God, and all will be well with you. It is well with my soul.
It is.
So until next time, Miss Sharon,
Miss Wendy,
go out and have that God-given life.
thank you. It was a good day.